Good afternoon and welcome to Fur, Fins, and Feathers. Today we have two special guests. We have the Botelhos,
Hi, Kim.
Hello.
Kim and
Kori.
her daughter Kori, and they own goats. And they're going to talk about the fascinating world of goats and all about it. Hi, Kim. Who is this today?
This is Lilly.
How old is Lilly?
Lilly is 4. She's a Nubian. She's small for a Nubian, but she's a dairy goat. And she's had babies three separate times. This time she just had triplets about a week and a half ago. So I let her babies nurse from her for 8 weeks. Then once the 8 weeks is up, then I'll stop milking her. Some people will pull the babies and bottle feed because they think that the babies will be friendlier, but as long as you handle the babies when they're small, they're really friendly.
How did you get into goats?
So it was actually my daughter Kori. When she was in 4-H, she started with the rabbits, and we went to a few shows and we saw some kids showing goats. So we just kind of fell in love with goats because they're kind of like having a dog. But you can keep them outside year round. They have great little personalities. They all have different personalities because we raise, mainly we raise Nigerian dwarfs. That's what Kori started with, was a Nigerian dwarf when she first started showing. But Kori got a lot taller than I was, so when she would be in the show ring, she'd be hunched over showing a Nigerian. So we found Lilly here. So Kori could stand up a little taller while she was showing her. So she's been exposed to a lot of different shows and whatnot, so she's a good girl.
Now, Kori, you graduated from Bristol Aggie last year.
Yes, I did.
That
From the
was
animal
great. A
science.
wonderful, wonderful experience.
Yes, it is. Learn lots about all the different types of animals. We get to switch between small and large, so we get to experience both sides of the industry and everything that entails into it.
And you continued to show goats.
Yes, I've shown goats since I was probably like 11 or 12. I started off with rabbits, and then we got into goats. And I think I like the goats a little more than the rabbits, but
You do? You like
Yeah.
the goats more?
they just have more personality than... I love my rabbits, but the goats are more like dogs.
So, Kim, tell us about goats.
So we have a farm in Swansea. It's called K&K Acres. Right now, like I said, we have Nigerian dwarfs and we have 2 Nubians, but I'm concentrating on mini Nubians. Now that Kori's aged out of 4-H, I'm still continuing on with raising the goats. The mini Nubians are a cross between a Nigerian dwarf and a Nubian. She's small for a Nubian. A Nubian is usually quite a bit taller and bigger than her. So they're a big goat for someone to handle, but they have a large capacity of milk, obviously, the larger the goat. And I make cheese, I make soap, I drink the milk. So I wanted to get something that was a little smaller of a breed, but produces more milk, and that's why I started with mini Nubians.
The other day you were talking to me about the goats. Now, you don't sell the cheese.
So in Massachusetts, there's a lot of laws in order for you to sell milk, cheese, or any of those products. I hope someday that I'm able to do that, but there's a lot of things involved. You need to have a milking
kitchen.
room. Yep, you need a certified kitchen. Your milking room has to have running hot and cold water. Just for sanitary purposes. Not that it's not sanitary how I milk my goats, but if you're doing like a whole commercial type thing, you have to do that.
Can you sell goat soap?
So I can sell goat soap. I can sell goat milk for non-human consumption. Goat milk is the universal milk for all different animals. Dogs, cats, wildlife. A lot of people who rehabilitate wildlife will look for goat milk because all animals can process it. People who are lactose intolerant can drink goat's milk. I drink the goat's milk raw. I had a lot of like stomach issues. Sometimes when I would eat certain ice creams and stuff, I'd get pains in my stomach. But when I drink the goat's milk, it really helps my digestive tract. So,
Very good.
yeah, it tastes good too. Like there's the different breeds of dairy goats. Some do have more of a goaty taste, they say. But a Nubian has high butterfat content to their milk. So it tastes creamy. If I gave you a glass of whole milk and fresh goat milk, you probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference. So with the mini Nubians that I have at home, and I'm gonna keep this little girl right here that Kori's holding,
Lavender.
I can get almost a gallon a day per goat of milk. So I freeze it.
And that's for your home consumption.
For my own, yeah. So if someone has a child who's lactose intolerant, it's good to get some goats, and they can milk their goats and provide milk for their family with a couple of dairy goats.
Kori, what does it take? How do you care for a goat?
Well, you need to have multiple goats to start out with because they're a herd animal, so they get very lonely if you don't have another one. And then you would need some sort of shelter. If you have only small Nigerian dwarfs, you could start out with a little dog shelter and have a fenced-in area for them to stay in. Then you need the basics: hay, grain, water, and the buckets to feed them in. They're very easy to care for. They're not
But they
very
require
needy.
a lot of work, don't they?
The cleaning a little bit, and if you want to shave them, and their feet need to be clipped, but other than that, they're pretty easy to care for.
When I was in the Azores a few months ago, I had the most fascinating experience. I was driving down, I was in a car, of course, and I was being taken on a tour of Tessera, and we stopped in a roadside village to let the goats pass by. And there were hundreds of them. They were all colors and shapes and sizes. And I mean, the farmers just, everything stopped and the goats just kept going. And there must have been 100 or 150 goats. And I was told later on that was a very common
Yeah, they love to be
occurrence in the
together.
Azores.
Yeah, they herd all together, so they stick together.
And you have about a dozen?
Yeah, I have about 12. We have 3 babies right now. I'm going to keep one of the 3, and then I have another doe who's due like anytime between now and Sunday. So it's another mini Nubian. I didn't breed my Nigerian dwarfs this year. I just did bred my mini Nubians and Lilly, who's a full Nubian. Because I hand milk. You can buy milk machines and use those to milk, but I milk by hand, so I work a full-time job as well, so I can't have too many does to milk at a time.
So you're up early in the morning.
Yeah, I'm up early in the morning before work. I feed them all and whatnot, and feed all my animals, rabbits, chickens, everything. And then when I come home at night is when I clean my stalls. I also have a couple horses too, so I do all the cleaning at night after work. So, and then on the weekends is when we can do like bigger projects and stuff.
Now, Lilly here, how does she get along with other goats?
So goats in a herd, there's always one who's like the herd queen, which used to be my oldest goat, who she's about like 8 years old now.
Yeah.
She was the queen. She was smaller than Lilly. When we brought Lilly home, Lilly actually stayed in Kori's bedroom for the first 6 months because the Nigerian dwarfs wouldn't accept her. We had to get another Nubian, and then we had to integrate them together slowly. So if it's a newcomer, they're kind of tough. They're going to headbutt them, and you got to watch them, especially if it's a baby. But once they form their herd, my original herd queen's daughter is now the boss of everyone, and it's her way or the highway. She gets to eat first, and I have several bowls that I put the food in, so there's no headbutting each other as they're eating.
Do they get along for the most part?
They do get along. They'll play around and stuff, and it's funny because the goats know who their offspring is, because I have our original Nigerian dwarf, and I have 3 of her daughters, and she knows those are her daughters. She's nicer to her grandchildren than she is to like Lily's baby. She's going to headbutt away from her faster than her own grandchildren she'll let next to her. Because baby goats will try to just nurse off of any udder they see. So you'll see, I see how the families stick together of the different goats. But if I were to just bring in a strange one, they would all kind of gang up on that one. So you just kind of have to watch them.
It's very interesting. So there's like a hierarchy.
Oh yeah, definitely. And the one that I actually didn't have any girls born last year, so I sold my babies, the boys, as pets, and I bought a new mini Nubian doe, and it took them, I'd put her in a pen separately and stuff at night, took them a good 2 weeks to finally accept her. And they still like kind of push her aside a little bit, like I'm hoping she has a girl so I could keep a girl from her so she has someone to stick with all the time.
So they stay in a barn, they sleep in the barn.
Yeah. And I leave the barn door open. They can come in and out whenever they want. I don't lock them in at night. I used to lock them in at night. I was nervous about leaving them, because of wild animals and whatnot, but our fencing is pretty secure, and I do have dogs on my property, so we haven't really had any problems with
No coyotes
or anything. I can hear them howling way in the woods, but we have 12 acres. A lot of it is wooded. So I haven't actually seen any. I've heard them, but I don't think they would come into my fencing area.
Kori, could you address the topic of 4-H? We need to get more people in the community involved in 4-H.
Yeah, it's a wonderful program. It's taught me basically everything I've known about public speaking and learning responsibility from cleaning my animals, taking care of them, planning out my time efficiently, the expenses I have to take take care of the animals. It just has taught me and built me up to who I am today, and it's a great program.
And you are going to have you have a program.
Yeah, we have a club with most of the kids right now are 6 to 11. We only have 4 kids in the club right now. We're looking to get more kids in the club. Right now they're just starting with rabbits. They are kind of young, and I've let them all know you don't have to own a goat to be in 4-H. Like, there's a lot of people, myself as a leader, I have goats. Kids can lease the goats. And usually different people do different things for lease agreements. So my lease agreement would be they would have to come and help out, clean and care for the animals. It's not money or anything like that. But the kids need to learn, the responsibilities it takes to take care of this animal. They have to clip the animal to get ready for shows. So once my younger kids are able to handle rabbits, because they do have to own a rabbit to be in my club, because I'm not going to I already have 26 rabbits. I don't need any more. And I think it's hard for them to, really see the care of a rabbit if it's not in their own home. But the goats, once the kids can flip their rabbits over and show them, then we're going to get into goats again. That's what we always did, rabbits and goats with the kids. And before we had, I think at one time we had like 15 kids in our club who were very, very active with showing. And as they got older, they started aging out and whatnot. So I wanted to continue it on because I really love animals. I love 4-H. I love teaching people about animals. Adults, not just children. The parents learn a lot of stuff they didn't know. So you learn a lot.
Over the years, I've had the privilege of going to some 4-H shows in Maine and in New Hampshire.
Oh, nice.
And judging the dog part,
Yeah,
the fitting and showmanship part of the dogs. And it's a very fascinating experience. And I've seen, I was at a dog show a couple of weeks ago, and an exhibitor came up to me at the dog show, and she said to me, I won a ribbon. She said, I got Best Junior. She said, 25 years ago, Mr. Lowney. She said, you were the fitting and showmanship judge. She said, when I won. And she said, now I go on. She said, and I have a club. And she said, I, teach the kids.
Yep.
And we do fitting and showmanship, and she does the dogs. And she said some of the others have done cows, and some have done chickens and geese, and so she said but it's a very, very good program.
Yep, on June 22nd, we're actually going to have the Summer Kickoff, and it's going to be held in the Tractor Supply in Swansea's parking lot. So if anybody has free time on the 22nd of June, they should really come check it out, because they'll see it's a learning day for the kids, but at the end of the day, they're all going to be able to show their animals. So other kids who might be interested can kind of see what it's all about.
And they don't have to live in the city. I mean, they
don't have
can
to,
live in
yeah,
the city.
Yeah, they don't have to live in Swansea. My club's based out of Swansea, but that doesn't mean you need to live in Swansea.
But the kids don't necessarily, if they live in the city, they still can come out and have that experience.
Of course. Yep. Yep. And a lot of apartments do allow people to have rabbits too, and you can show guinea pigs in 4-H. So, and then if the kids want to show even like a larger animal like a cow, you lease a cow from a farmer, and they'll work out what they want to work out with you, and for their lease agreement, and the kids can show a cow. There's plenty of kids who live in the city who show animals.
You just have to be committed to your animal.
Yeah.
Kori, was it a great experience
It was
at
wonderful.
Bristol Aggie?
Yeah, I loved Bristol Aggie. Bristol Aggie was really fun. I got to meet all sorts of different people from the city, people from rural areas like Rehoboth. You all come together and you learn all different things about lab animals, reptiles, fish, rabbits, goats, sheep, horses, cows, and
You have some awesome teachers. in there.
yes, they're very wonderful. They're very knowledgeable, and they've been through experiences in the animal industry. They have their own farms, own animals, so they can teach us what they've learned throughout the years.
So, tell me. So she'll mature to what's their longevity?
Goats, typically an average life is probably about 13 years or so. And for breeding, as long as her body holds up and, her udder holds up, you can keep breeding them, maybe until she's about 10 years old or so. It depends on the goat, really. Her udder has stayed nice and high. So, and she's, a really, really good mom. Actually, she didn't have babies last year because she actually nursed one of her last sons for 2 years. So, which I kept him. He's one of the only boys that I kept that I've fixed and leave him with the girls. But her son Albus,
Talk about Lily's grooming. How do you groom a goat?
So, you don't have to clip them. Like right now, she's unclipped.
They'll shed out. For the summer.
They do get like a little bit of a winter coat. They shed out their winter coat, and then it's nice to shave them because it helps prevent them from getting like lice or anything like that. And they're a lot cleaner when her udder is all nice and shaved and stuff. It's a little bit easier to milk her. It will keep her cool as well. So,
grooming.
What about their veterinary care?
So veterinary care, they should have a health check once a year. If you're showing, you have to have a health certificate by the state. We do a lot because we've had experience with the goats. You can buy the vaccinations that goats need at Tractor Supply. It's like a CDT shot. And Kori and I, over the years of learning how to do this, we've learned how to do a lot of things with goats. We can do our own shots. We obviously can't give our own rabies shot. That has to be done by a licensed vet. But their vet care, it's good to find a goat savvy person, someone who knows a lot about goats if you're interested in getting goats, because there's not a lot of vets who specialize in goats.
Why is that?
I'm really not sure why. The best goat vet around here, she's out in Marshfield. She has a lot of knowledge of goats, so that's who I choose to go to if I have any real problems. But Kori and I have, helped goats who are sick. You can get penicillin if you need penicillin and they have a fever. If you don't know what you're dealing with, you definitely should call a vet. But goats can get polio, which is actually a thiamine deficiency. And a goat has a rumen which is it's one stomach with 4 chambers. Some people think they have 4 stomachs like cows. They have the similar stomach. So if they have bacteria in their belly, if they overindulge in something that their body is not used to, their body stops making vitamin B, and then they get polio. So that's something that
And that proves fatal.
yes, it is. If you catch it right away and you give vitamin B shots, you can sometimes save the goat. Goats love chicken food, and it's like candy to them, and if they overindulge in it, they will end up with polio. There's listeriosis too, is another common thing, and you have to watch out for parasites. Just like dogs and cats, they can get parasites, so doing fecal samples with them with your vet is something that you need to do, and get them the proper wormer that they need. She likes to have her little feet scratched.
Lily is a very affectionate goat.
She is very affectionate.
She was a bottle-fed baby. So.
Yeah, she was a bottle baby, and she, like I said, lived in Kori's room for the first, 6 months.
So these goats do come in the house sometimes.
Sometimes they do, yep. You can teach them, kind of house break them to pee outside, but they don't have any control over their bowels, so they will sometimes poop in the house, but it's just little, rabbit pellets, so it's easy to clean up.
Very, very interesting.
But they love to be scratched, so Lily wants to be scratched.
Do they get
now.
along well with the rabbits?
They don't really mess with the rabbits. They'd probably just want to eat the rabbit's hay. They don't really. I have a couple of cats who have decided to call my barn home, and they hang out with the goats. I have a couple of ducks that live in there with them. They don't bother with them one way or another. They just kind of let them be.
But it's like one big happy family.
Yeah. And my horse is Kori's horse, actually. I have a mini. She has a bigger horse. He loves when the baby goats are born. We have to show him every baby that's born, and he loves to, clean the babies and stuff. So, because horses are a herd animal as well, so they can be a companion. A goat can be a companion for a horse.
How many different breeds of goat are there?
I believe it's 8.
Of the dairy goats. There's dairy goats. There's meat goats.
Well, we don't talk about meat goats.
I know, but it's
No,
a fact. But that it's just different breeds, and people show the meat goats just like they show the dairy goats. Dairy goats cannot have horns, though. When you show them, I don't know if you noticed, she doesn't have horns, because when you're in the show ring with a goat. We just had the baby actually disbudded. You can see on the top of her head.
Yes.
When you're in a show ring with a bunch of dairy goats and they have this big, massive udder, if the goat behind it had horns and accidentally just moved its head the wrong way, they could tear that udder open. So even, in the pen, they can tear each other. If they're just wrestling around, they could
They
hurt.
can get stuck very easily,
They could get stuck in a fence, or they could rip open an udder, or so. Some goats are born naturally polled, it's called. They don't have horns. We don't have any goats that are polled, but we get them all disbudded. They have to be disbudded within the first, no more than 10 days you want to wait before you get them disbudded.
Okay. Very interesting.
But once it's done, they don't ever grow back, so you don't really have to worry about it.
Lily, you're smelling. You're a very pretty girl.
She likes your ice cream socks.
She likes my ice cream socks. Does she like ice cream?
She probably would eat ice cream. Lily used to get really spoiled at the 4-H shows. Whatever snack Kori had, she would.
She likes Dell's lemonade.
She loves. Yeah, Kori would give her Dell's lemonade, or they love Cheerios, or stuff that's healthy for us is what you'd want to give them. And like I said before about the thiamine thing and polio, you don't want them to overindulge in anything. But a couple little treats here and there are fine.
And she's
itching.
Scratching her head.
She's scratching the chair. She's having a good time.
You're a good girl, huh, Lily?
And she gets along well with the other goats.
Yep, and she'll even get along well with my dogs that My female dog gets a little too crazy, but she doesn't mind dogs either. So, dogs she doesn't know. One of my goats, if she sees a dog she's not familiar with, if I bring
You
her
don't
to
eat glasses.
to a petting zoo, she'll stomp her feet. But Lily's usually fine with other dogs and stuff. But they are protective over their baby, so if they felt threatened that someone was going to hurt their baby, they would try to headbutt that other animal.
Can you talk about, we've got a few more minutes, can you talk about the show at the Tractor Barn?
Yeah, so at Tractor Supply in Swansea, it's on June 22nd. It'll be probably in the afternoon. The kids will be showing the animals. They'll do each different type of animal. There'll be kids probably showing some dairy cows, some rabbits, some goats. There may be some sheep as well.
Are these 4-H participants?
So these will be all 4-H kids, yes.
And where are they from?
All of Bristol County, and sometimes we get some kids from Plymouth County.
Okay.
So, but people should come check it out. They can see what 4-H is about, and there'll be different clubs there, so they, may be able to join a club, or you can have your own club. You only need 3 families and 5 members, and a lot of the leaders are more than willing to help out.
Well, that's something we should be looking forward to.
Yep.
Well, for today, it has been a wonderful experience to meet Lilly and the goats, and you two very lovely ladies.
Thank you.
And we'll see you soon. Thank you.